Here are some quick facts on addiction. 1. An astounding 70 million Americans are taking legal mind-altering drugs right now. 2. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, doctors wrote more than 250 million prescriptions for antidepressants during 2010. 3. Americans spent more than $280 billion on prescription drugs during 2013. 4. There are 60 million Americans that abuse alcohol. 5. According to the Department of Health and Human Services, 22 Americans use illegal drugs. 6. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, there's an unintentional drug overdose death in the United States every 19 minutes. 7. In the United States today, prescription painkillers kill more Americans than heroin and cocaine combined. Here is about civil law. To help combat the growing rates of substance abuse, the Canadian government implemented Canada's drug strategy. This was a project initiated by the federal government that addresses the negative effects of substance use and abuse. There are 4 major aspects on Canadian drug strategies. These are education prevention, treatment and rehabilitation, harm and reduction, and enforcement and control. Each section has its own group of federal supporters and community programs. The education section of CDS are the responsibility of the provincial and territorial governments. These smaller groups of government bring many different education approaches to high-risk populations. Some of these programs include high school presentations, mass media awareness campaigns, and community youth groups. The next aspect of CDS is rehabilitation. Similar to drug education, local communities are mainly responsible for the creation of drug and alcohol treatment and rehabilitation. Because substance use is such a complicated condition, these services approach this problem with diverse methods. The third section of CDS are harm reduction. This encompasses the health-centered approach to addiction and has the objective of reducing the health and social harms related to addiction. Finally, the last section of the CDS is enforcement and control, whereas laws against having illegal substances and various sentences. How is this topic an issue related to the law of our country? This issue relates to Canadian law in the sense that it directly deals with the trafficking of illegal substances. The drug trafficking market is a growing issue, and there's glorification of selling and dealing drugs in the media and on social media. This can lead to youth to believe it may be okay to turn to drugs when dealing with their problems, and this can cause addiction. This is an issue of such great importance because it has the capability to destroy communities and to cause violence and mental illness in teenagers. That is why Canadian governments take so many steps in trying to prevent addiction and trying to rehabilitate victims of this disorder. Here is our media link. Our media link will be based on the former Friends star Matthew Perry. He had battled alcoholism from his early 20s to his mid-30s. Perry routinely abused alcohol and prescription drugs throughout his time on Friends. During his cast, he was always painfully hungover and couldn't do anything to stop it. Perry was not getting the help he needed and had to go to rehab twice before finally becoming drug and alcohol free. Although it may seem like Perry had it all with the fame and the money, he quotes, "From an outsider's perspective, it would seem like I had it all. It was actually a very lonely time for me because I was suffering from alcoholism." This quote shows that addiction is a huge problem, and things such as even fame or money, money or fortune, cannot even help the people get over this illness. Not even all the money in the world can make a person suffering from addiction happy. Perry is still an actor currently, but in his free time, he helps and guides those.
Created using Powtoon.